Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Hit Your Numbers. This week we have another Field Notes takeover. So if you haven't seen already, James Bissell and Richard Washington have started a new podcast called Field Notes, and it's everything that they're seeing in the market that week. Last week we had an amazing episode where they talked about 2027 planning and why they're banning AI in job applications, or why they should be banning AI, or maybe they shouldn't. Listen to the full episode now and go and check out the rest of them on the Field Notes podcast YouTube channel today. Right, on with the show.
I think this might come out like very beginning of July. It's perfect. Start of a new quarter, end of the year in sight. People are going to be like, right, who's at risk? Who's at risk? Let me go. I'm just going to go and speak to my team. Like, how are you feeling?
We should promote this episode with us breathing into brown paper bags.
Yeah. James, people just joining now, what are they going to hear about in this episode of Field Notes?
Don't be put off with what we're about to talk about, but we're talking about 2027 planning.
We also talk about AI and recruitment and how we shouldn't be scared of people using AI. We should see it as an opportunity for them to show us their true resourcefulness. Let's roll the VT. Are you frustrated? I'm getting frustrated vibe a little bit.
For me?
Yeah.
It's really hot, mate. I'm not good in the heat.
How's your ice bath?
Oh, it's beautiful. We should do a podcast from the tub.
From the tub?
Yeah. Not in the same tub together. That'd be really good. Probably go very viral as well. From our own tubs. Or we should do two tubs next to each other with a mic and a camera.
Yeah. And wearing a finance breast as well, like ultimate sales bro, right?
Yeah. I can guarantee you that we would definitely finish at 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. How long's left on the timer?
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome back to Field Notes. What episode is this, James?
6?
6? 7?
If we said 6, 7, 8, or 9, depending on which one Matt puts out.
Matt can make it whichever episode, right? Let's say it's 7. It's 7. I think it's 7. Welcome back to Field Notes, episode 7 of our race to get to 1,000 episodes before we get replaced by AGI. Mm-hmm. So we got 2 topics, 10 minutes each, is what we're seeing in the marketplace. James, shall I tell you what I'm seeing at the moment?
Let us know.
So it's a really relevant topic, which is the use of AI in hiring. And what I mean specifically is businesses inconsistently and not really having figured it out, working through how they're going to either encourage or discourage candidates from using AI as part of the recruitment process. That's what I want to talk about.
All right, I'm interested. Your 10 minutes, I'm going to press it now. Start now.
So I've noticed this really crazy thing, which is a lot of businesses, because they're getting frustrated with people using AI in their task submission or application process for businesses, are banning AI. So they're like, no AI. And it's almost like the kind of school teacher solution to the problem, which is we just ban it, right? Let's ban it. And then you kind of just go, is that logically the right thing to do? If these people will have access to AI within the role, why would we ban it as part of the process? And I think what I've realized is people are just trying to avoid hiring someone who gave you the right answer because they used AI, but are basically terrible, from those who are truly AI-enabled reps. And if we say that, you won't get replaced by AI, but a person using AI will replace you, how do we test for the people who are AI-enabled? And what I've realized is the kind of root cause of this problem is there's just not enough knowledge around this. There's not enough discussion. There's not enough thought around how can we work out who are the people who can use AI to make themselves better without risking hiring someone who is bringing us an AI answer to a problem. And then we realize as soon as you take that away, they're just not going to be able to function in the role.
I've got an idea on that, and it's something that I used to deploy before AI was even like a hot topic. But from your perspective, why do you feel like leaders are wanna ban it and prevent people from doing it? What do you think is the driver?
Yeah, I think they're really scared about mishiring.
Mm-hmm.
And what it really means is someone without the core skills to be able to be successful without AI. So it's kind of like the reason they're being successful is AI, and they're trying to avoid that. When obviously the answer is something different, which is, well, and actually Marc Roberge talked about it, and I know you quoted Marc Roberge in a previous podcast, but Marc Roberge did a wonderful post about it after he did like a big sort of like get together of go-to-market leaders and founders, and he talks about how one thing that we can test for in hiring is ask people to use AI, but get them to show their workings.
Yeah.
What prompt did you build? Like, what was your thought process there? How did you make sure it wasn't giving you the wrong output? So we can like see how cleverly someone's using the tool. But it's kind of like if we were running a kitchen and we said, right, I want you to make me a dish, but please don't use knives and don't use a hob and don't use the oven. Don't use the oven. I'm like, well, the product's going to be terrible. What if they did have like a really good set of knives and they had a really good oven and they could make you something really nice? Like, why don't we see how good they can make something, but just show us, this is the knife I used. I'm using the analogy a bit too far, but you get the point. It's like, what if we rethink this, stop banning AI, ask them to use it if they use it in real life. When I would say if someone's like says, oh, I don't want to use AI, that sounds like a terrible thing. In 2026, we're pretty screwed. So you probably do want people that are really drawn towards this stuff, but get them to show you how they built it, because it might teach you some stuff. And also you get to see the thought process. So what you're doing is you're testing for their resourcefulness and their ingenuity and their creativity and their problem solving and all the skills that you want them to have. So how can we flip our thinking from AI is good or bad to what can this person achieve with this incredible new tool?
Rich, do you think we should be recruiting people for the present and the future?
Yeah, I think the lens should be about 12 months. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. You shouldn't be thinking we're going to hire someone for the job that we have today, but we know in 6 to 12 months' time, we're not going to need that anymore. You might as well just get a consultant in.
Yeah.
Someone that's going to come in and do it as a project. If you're hiring someone to join your business, it's regardless of whether the role is going to be the same. They're going to change role in the business. They'll probably get promoted. The role will shift. They'll take on different responsibilities. Very rare that I'll look at someone on LinkedIn and they've been at the same company for 10 years in the same role.
Yeah.
They might have been promoted through various roles. So I would say the lens should be about 12 months. I think beyond that, you're just way too speculative. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. What's your take?
So the reason I asked that question is if I can then say, hey, Rich, I'm actually really cool with you using AI for this specific task. Can you do me a favor? Can you just share your screen and walk me through the prompt that you designed to get to that outcome? If I can see the prompt is, I have an interview at 3 p.m. I really need the money because I'm going to lose my house. Can you write me a discovery deck that I need to present to 3 people? Like that person hasn't taken the time in and outside of work to understand prompting and things like that, right? Yeah. Even if they didn't, they could just get AI to write the prompt and then use that prompt for AI to generate the work, right? Again, that's just like basics for me now. So I would want to see the work, because if I can see like really good prompt structure, right? And I'm not a prompt expert, but I'm pretty good with AI. Then I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, I can work with this person, because I'm not expecting to hire like elite of the elite in every organization, because not every organization can attract the elites of the elites, right? I'm looking for people that are coachable, they're adaptable, they're intelligent, they're curious, they want to push the boundaries. I can then make that person, highly capable through what my job is all about, right? So I don't think we should hide from it, because if we do, it's like drugs and things like that. Where do they go? Underground.
Yeah, exactly.
You should embrace it.
They'll find a way to use it, right?
Always,
they'll find a way to use it. But I think it's really fascinating. I'm literally seeing people get rejected from processes for use of AI. Like a judgment being made around this person read from AI, and I'm going, do you really ask them that? Because the person says that they didn't, and then you get into this like he said, she said. It's all faff. Whereas if we said, we're looking for this core set of skills. And Sam Altman talks about this recently, where he talks about like the hard, soft skills. And these are the skills that have become really valuable when AGI happens, which is adaptability, resilience, creativity, agency. These are the things we're looking to see. And I would say it's very, very hard to find people with all those skills who isn't like naturally drawn towards AI and this power and capability that it has. And because no one's really been taught this, there isn't a AI for sales lesson that we can do. There's no qualification. There's no B2B degree in sales. There's not in AI. So you'll find all these cool people have learned different ways of using it. And I think that's really exciting because you're using it in a certain way, and you probably didn't get trained in it. You figured it out. So we're all just figuring it out. What if someone comes along and goes, and they show you it, and you're like, "That's incredible. Well, how did you do that?" They went, "Yeah, I was just working on this problem, and I did this thing, and I realized I got this output. So then I created a prompt, and then I shared it with some friends, or I took this course and I studied this thing, and Marc Roberge on this thing said this thing, and you find out so much about their thought process, about how they've treated it. I think you would potentially get the outcome so much faster now with letting them use AI than if you just did it like an old school way of doing like a discovery role play. But really what you're doing is you're testing how did they get trained before. Because we've all had to figure this out. You're seeing much more of the true person and their own capability and their independence versus how were they taught to do it before? Because none of us got taught to use AI. So I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, well, I think the other problem that none of us get really taught to do, unless you do get lucky and you land at an org that does take this stuff seriously early in your career, is around how do you actually assess an individual in an interview process.
Yeah.
Because the bit that I wanted to get to earlier was that regardless if they use AI or not, you should very quickly be able to tell if that person is capable or not of actually doing the role with or without AI.
Yeah.
The reality is every business on the planet is using AI. It's probably fair to or safe to say that, right?
Yeah.
And like a lot of them are using a lot of different tools and models and things like that. So if you're unable to be able to say, hey, Rich, great that you've used AI over here, but I'm going to really test if you've got the capability to run an enterprise sales process, then I think you're maybe in the wrong role. Or you need to like have a real, look in the mirror and be like, okay, maybe I've got a gap here and I need to learn how to do this. Because one of the ways I used to assess salespeople in the interview process, even before like AI was like where it is now, is I would say like after the first interview, let's say we did like a characteristics, conversation where I'm just kind of get a feel for like your curiosity and intelligence and things like that. I'm going to say, hey, Rich, we're going to book in a next step Thursday at 10 o'clock. Can you turn up at the office, right? Or turn up to the call. I wouldn't tell you what was going to happen. And this is like maybe now in the AI world, you could do this. They've got no time to properly prepare. And then when people turn up to the office or they turn up to the Zoom call, I'd say, right, we're going to do a role play. Okay. And there's a room over there, or like, I'm going to let you turn your camera off and your mic off just for 10 minutes. There's a brief in your inbox because I've just sent it to you this second. I want you to build a pitch, and we're going to do lights on, or you're going to come into this room, and then we're going to run a discovery conversation or a cold call or whatever for 20 minutes. And I know they're not going to nail it because it's an interview, because they've had 10 minutes to prepare. But I can very quickly assess, like, take an hour situation and context out of the conversation. Do they set an agenda and say, hey, Rich, what would you like to get from the conversation today? Which is a great way of starting discovery because people are pretty vocal. Or like, if I'm like, rough idea of what you guys do, I can usually tell by the next question or how they deal with that situation, what they're like as a seller. Like, not if they know anything about our HR software we're selling or whatever, just like based on what they would do next in that situation.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. First principle thinking. And I think that's what we get to see with AI. Exactly. Yeah.
So if you're worried about people are using AI, just like assess people.
Yeah.
And be like, could I work with Rich? Could I build him into a highly capable seller? Has he got all the other characteristics that are important,
Yeah, exactly. And if we've got a whole team of people who are using AI in cool different ways and they bring it into the team so everyone learns, we'll learn so much faster. We'll have proper multipliers inside the business. And I think that's what's really exciting. So my view would be, if you are scared about people using AI in recruitment process, let's rethink this, see how effective they can use a tool. And just really quick anecdote, just spoke to a really good friend of mine, very senior CS leader in some of the largest companies in the world. Recently saw an opportunity inside Anthropic, so I applied. The company says we encourage you to use Claude in your application process. Just show your workings. So the biggest companies, fastest growing in the world, are asking people to do this already. And I think we should take a leaf from their book.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you ready for your topic, Mr. Lethal Bizzle?
Lethal, yes, I am. I was kind of on the fence around. We've been doing some like pretty big work with some pretty big orgs recently, and obviously then you just get exposed to a lot more, and it's like full go to market, so top of funnel, new logo, and expansion and retention. But then I was just thinking, like, I was having a chat internally the other day, and I was like also thinking about being a VP again. And one of the things I think maybe we can freestyle on, which would be pretty cool, because there's lots of different parts that we can touch on, is maybe the lack of planning for future periods. So for example, like it's 2026, 2027, people are thinking that's like 6-7 months away, right? And then next minute, boom, it hits you in the face. And I want to talk about planning in June for 2027, because this is something that I used to do, maybe not like aggressively in the detail, but I would start to have the conversations. And maybe we can just walk the listeners through why I think that's really important right now to set you as a VP up for success, rather than you signing your death warrant and not being able to do anything about it. So I want to talk about 2027 planning.
Okay. And why at this time of the year in June is this topic one that's come to your mind?
So let's say, for example, you're running a calendar fiscal year. Yeah. So in December, you'll close the books, you'll win, you'll lose, whatever the outcome is, and then you'll go again in January. 99.999% of the time, that number is going to go up. And if the number is bad in terms of the outcome in 2026, then you might have to recover a little bit of what you didn't achieve in 2026 for a bunch of different reasons that we probably don't have to get into. Now, when the number goes up, let's say 30, 40, 50, 60%, 100%, depending on the context or whatever, right? A lot of the time, you're going to need people to hit the number. And way better than I do, because it's your core business. But when I was a VP, it wasn't like, and startups, it wasn't like maybe Anthropic are finding it or Salesforce find it. There's not a load of people at the door queuing up waiting to come in and get started. Oh, and by the way, they're the elite of the elite, right? So I've then got to write the job descriptions, get it out to my recruiters, put it on the website. Then I've got to go through the process and go, Jesus, like these people are applying for a role in sales, but they work at Tesco. So there's like all this like bad fit that we have to go through. And then there's first round, second rounds. I need a bit of delay because I've got someone really good that's just come in, slow things down. Then I got to make an offer. Then they've got to resign 30 days. Then they've got to blah, blah. Next minute, it's like May or June, and I'm already, behind. So the reason I wanted to talk about this today is it's June now. The has 6 months to go, but you need to start having tough conversations with your investors and with your board and with your CEO to say, hey, if just like, so you guys know, okay, I'm giving you plenty of runway, plenty of heads up. If in January the number's going to go up 30%, because that's what happened the last 3 years, so I'm making an assumption it's going to happen again, we are going to need to backfill and have this number of people and do like a capacity model and be like, if we need to hit this bigger number, say February, March, I'm going to have to start recruiting in like August so that those people can then resign in September. They can start in October. And then we've got October, November, December to start the ramping up process. If let's say it's 6 months, by time February, March comes, they're getting close to full productivity. Mm. When you actually walk it back like that, it makes total sense. But most people like, it's summer, I'm thinking about going to Barcelona for a couple of weeks. Not, do I need to start having conversations with the investors about 2027 financial targets?
Yeah, it's a really good, we hear it all the time, as you can imagine, is people going, right, this is our target for this year. And they start the process of hiring in like month one. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, this is crazy thinking. Like for us to go and do a full search It's going to take somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the level of seniority for the role. And you'll have that person in place, like locked in within 4 to 8 weeks max. But then they've got a notice period. And for senior roles, it could be 3 months. You could be 5 months. And that's on like a fast process for senior leadership roles. The average like senior leadership role takes 7 months to recruit in the market. So like, even doing it in 2-3 months is fast. But if you've lost a quarter, you've lost all the pipe gen, you've lost all the creating the right cadences, you've lost killing all those deals that you're spending all that time working on, you're a bit screwed. And so, but it's interesting. I just don't think, I think it's very, for whatever reason, planning doesn't start until a couple of months before. I think at the board level it does, but not on the kind of like, what does that operationally mean in terms of what we need to do to be ready? When you're speaking to people about this and what you're seeing, what are you actually observing as the real problem that's preventing people from planning with enough time to affect the outcome?
This isn't like in case across the board, but sometimes, like if anyone remembers watching like TV programs or movies in the US of like that yellow school bus, and the kids like waiting outside their house, and they jump onto the school bus and they look forward and there's a drive, and they look left, there's a bunch of like, the kids are like all zombies, right? They're like asleep and they're just passengers. And there's just like one dude like driving the bus. Like I see that as like the CEO, right? And like occasionally there's some people in the back seats and things like that are like they make things happen, but just most people they're just passengers, so they're not even the right people really to be doing that role. But the ones that are, I think they're maybe they don't want to have the conversation. They don't think about having the conversation. They don't know how to have the conversation. I don't think in June you need to be locking in headcount and like financial targets for 2027, but you do need to start. If you want to, our friend Scott, he did a webinar when I started this business 2 years ago, and we were talking about how to get promoted from like AE to manager and things like that. And he made a really good point. You should start to like do the role before you have the role. So if you want to be a CRO one day and you're like a head of sales, you should be really strategic. And you should be going to the board or the investors and the CEO and saying, hey, I know it's June. You're probably wondering, why is this dude having this conversation with us right now? But you should say, hey, I've looked at the last 3 years. The number's gone up by 32% on average. I feel like we're doing some really good stuff, so it might go up a little bit more. And what I don't want to happen is us to find ourselves between a rock and a hard place come December 12th, when we're like, cool, here's the new targets, and I've got 10 days to find an elite team before Christmas comes, and I've got, see what I mean? So I think being a really good leader is about being like good at managing up and like looking into the future and looking at the patterns and the trends and, what's likely to happen, and come up with ideas and solutions and present those. So I just don't think there's enough of that happening in the first place to be able to build a plan to mitigate the risk.
So I like the idea of like going to your board proactively, or your whoever, gives you the ability to go and do something about it now, based on historical sort of growth percentages. I guess there will be some people listening to this going, yeah, it's sort of like, of course, it would be great to be able to think like that. But I think we'd probably just get pushback from the business of saying, well, let's just see where we are first. Like we can't really plan until we have much more certainty in the number. So what if the reality is they just don't have much certainty yet, but they want to kind of plan ahead? How can they move a bit closer to certainty to be able to plan in a way that's not just like, very speculative forecast based on a spreadsheet type planning, but really based on some real metrics?
Well, at least you've had the conversation so that it doesn't come back to bite you. And then they go, hey, Rich, you need 12 reps. You're like, dude, I'm not going to hire those people in time. So at least you've had the conversation. But the real thing is probably what they're saying to you is that they don't feel like your ability to forecast effectively, right? I did a post about this recently, and it was like, and I said to a rep in a one-on-one, he was trying to get promoted. I'm like, the quickest way for you to fall out with your manager is to shit the bed on the forecast, because they got to take that. And your number might be big. Multiply it by the number of people on your team. That's their number. Yes, there's a budget and a forecast, so that usually they get, to save a little bit. But the number's still significant. They got to take that to somebody who's so disconnected from the world. They're usually like a bean counter, ex-financial person. It's got no context or understanding of what it's like to be in sales. and then you make the call and then it doesn't happen, or like only 50% of it happens, then that person now, their reputation is damaged. They're going to do it again the next quarter and again the next quarter. So first you've got to fix the forecasting problem. And like, again, we won't have time to get into it, but like what, again, goes back to the playbook. Do people actually know what a commit, best case, pipeline, upside, whatever your categories are? Do they know when to use them? Do you know how to inspect? Do they know how to call a forecast? Do you know how to then like take some of that out and take it up rather than getting happy ears and committing the lot or whatever, right? So as a leader, you have to be able to forecast effectively, understand where the risk is, and, you know, separate the two, so that then when you go and say things like, hey, it's 6 months, I'm not expecting to lock in the number and start hiring people today, but we really need to think about how we're going to phase these people in. And I need to have an always on recruitment program in the business and with my recruitment partner, so that if we find someone world-class in June, in July, we don't go, oh, they email me, I go, I'm not hiring until January because that person's not going to be on the market anymore. I need to go, well, maybe we hire that person early because that number is going to be significant come January.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure. We just did a podcast about how you can create a job in the market that doesn't exist because everyone's got a gap in the team, right? And you talked about a statistic like 33% of your team, a third of your team is in transition at any stage due to promotion or succession planning or pit risk or underperformance or whatever. So I think there's a really dangerous day as a leader where you think everything's great, you know? And you just sit there and go, everything's great. Like the number's great, the team's great, everything's great. Like that's when you need to worry.
Yeah, because you're going to get a Slack message one Monday morning that says, hey, Rich, are you free to chat? And you're like, yeah, sure. Like maybe they just had a good weekend. They want to catch up and they're like, hey, I've got a new job.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing like bringing in some really great talent into an already performing team to shake it up. It's like, you know, we always look for that. I really like the example. And I think everyone will have been caught out by going, oh, that thing I wasn't expecting happened, which now means I'm behind. And the amount of revenue leaders that carry a gap in their team size versus the budget is astonishing. I'd love to see the data, but I would imagine it's like in the high 80+% don't have a full capacity of team right now. And that's a vicious cycle, because if you're losing 20% of your potential revenue because you don't have the roles placed, or you're having to hold on to under target reps because you've got a gap on top as well to get on top of, it makes a lot of sense that you would carry that little bit of extra capacity in your team to deal with a lot of the fallout. So I think it's a really good point.
Yeah. I think some people might think this is a wild topic to be talking about in June, but if you think about it and you break it down like at a simple level, if you want to, you know, get ahead of things, if you don't want to be backpedaling and, you know, breathing into a brown paper bag, trying to do the impossible and going, right, well, Q1's a write-off. Now I've got to do Q1 and Q2 in the same quarter. It was already ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't need to create unnecessary stress. Just start planning.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're at time, James. Great topic.
We are.
Love it.
Yeah.
Nice. Everyone else, will see you on the next episode.
On time as well, mate. 4 minutes to go.
Magic.